Stop anxiety now. The haunting truth of Philippians 4 verse 6 revealed at 3 a.m., it was a stormy night, lightning flickering like Hollywood magic across the sky. The clock struck 3, a time known for secrets and whispers. In a small, dimly lit room, Jenna sat hunched over her phone, the haunting glow illuminating her face. She was searching for answers, but this time, she stumbled onto something she never expected. A thread so deep it felt like a rabbit hole wrapped in shadows. She couldn't shake the feeling. A strange chill pierced her chest, a warning that something bigger was afoot. With each scroll, unusual words leapt off the screen. Philippians 4 verse 6, they said, promising peace in the darkest moments. But what did it really mean? It felt like an ancient code waiting to be broken. Suddenly, her phone buzzed violently. Jenna's heart raced, her breath hitching as she glanced at the notification, a message from a long-ignored friend she had lost touch with years ago. It read, "You have to find the truth, Jenna. It's more powerful than you know." That was curious enough, but the message ended with an ominous, "They are watching." A knot formed in her stomach, the sense that she was caught in something far beyond her understanding. Something malevolent. Whispers started swirling in her mind, hard to shake off. A half-remembered childhood story crept back up, the one about a night when shadows could bleed into reality. Jenna felt her fingertips tremble as she typed, "What do you mean?" But her fingers hesitated over the keyboard, fear suddenly gripping her deeply. "Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. But just as Jenna hit send, the lights flickered, plunging her into darkness for an agonizing moment. Her breath caught, and she fought the urge to scream. What was happening? A shiver ran down her spine as a whisper echoed in the silence, "It's not safe here." She spun around, her eyes wide, heart pounding like a drum against her ribcage. She knew every instinct screamed to run, but what if the truth she sought was lurking just out of reach? What if it was about to unravel right in front of her? Suddenly, her phone illuminated again, revealing an old image saved in her gallery. It was a faded picture of the church choir from her childhood. She squinted closer, and among the smiling faces, she recognized one. The eerie thrill shot through her as she realized it was her friend. The one who had sent the message. But that was impossible. They hadn't spoken in years. Why were they connected to this? What truth awaited her, lurking in the shadows like a predator? She had to find out, but was she ready for the revelations that lurked just beyond the veil? The room felt smaller, the air thicker, as Jenna stared at the pixelated image of her friend, now a ghostly reminder of a past she'd buried. Did they know something she didn't? Her heart raced wildly as a storm raged outside, the wind howling like a beast. At that moment, breaking contact with reality felt inevitable. She glanced back at her phone, fingers trembling against the screen, still bright with the unsent message looming before her. What truth? She whispered into the void of her room. It was a question meant for herself, but the stillness amplifying her voice felt mocking. The ominous chill in the air intensified, suffocating her like a weight she couldn't shake off. Shadows danced in the corners, and she could swear the walls leaned in closer, as if they were eavesdropping. The image of the church choir shifted slightly on her screen, entangled with memories that began to seep back in. The laughter of childhood friends, the rich aroma of incense wafting through services, and the haunting harmonies that filled the air. But there was something darker lurking there too, a flicker of dread she couldn't quite place. Something about the choir's final performance whispered warnings and endings she had not been prepared for. Suddenly, the phone buzzed again, vibrating violently in her hand. Her heart nearly stopped as she read the new notification. It was a new message from the same friend, meet me. The church. Now. There was a desperate urgency in those words that made Jenna's insides churn. Was she really going to go? The very essence of fear intertwined with an unyielding compulsion, a force pulling her towards answers. No, it was a trap. It had to be. Her breathing hitched as she imagined unseen eyes watching her, those lurking shadows outside her window ready to pounce. But then, there was the small flicker of hope, the urge to discover what lay in the darkness, the promise of unraveling radiant secrets buried beneath layers of apprehension. Bolstered by a rush of adrenaline, Jenna stood up, shaking off the grip of dread. She grabbed her jacket, heart pounding in unison with the thunder outside. With each step towards the door, memories of laughter mingled with shadows of fear, crafting a potent cocktail of anxiety and determination. The truth could either save her or seal her fate. The storm's fury was alive as she stepped outside, punctuated by slashes of lightning that lit the way to the old church. A place where her past was intertwined with an eerie supernatural presence. As she walked, raindrops fell like 1,000 whispered warnings, but Jenna's resolve hardened. She arrived at the church, its once vibrant facade now a shadow of decay, ominous and foreboding. The doors creaked open as if holding back years of sorrow. Inside, the familiar scent of wood and old hymns swirled around her, an emotional embrace. Suddenly, the echo of footsteps behind her made her spin around. Her heart raced as she strained to see through the dim light. The shadows began to take shape, figures from the past began to emerge. But were they welcoming her or warning her? Her mind raced. The flickering light cast strange shapes on the walls, and whispers filled the air. Are you ready, Jenna? The voice was familiar, but colder, more distorted. It sent a chill slithering down her spine. Just as she began to respond, the ground beneath her quaked, and the world tilted sideways. An overwhelming sensation of dread snapped around her like a vice. She braced herself against the wall, knowing full well, she was no longer alone. What awaited her in those depths was beyond comprehension, and the truth she came seeking might cost her everything. Behind her, shadows shifted, and something dark stirred. Jenna, we've been waiting. The invitation hung heavy in the air. With eyes wide and breath hitching, she stepped deeper into the abyss. But was she walking into salvation, or doom? The shadows twisted around Jenna, tightening their grip like a sinister embrace. The whispering voices mingled with the rolling thunder outside, creating a symphony of unease. Panic bubbled in her chest, but curiosity kept her rooted in place. Jenna, the voice echoed again, more insistent this time, laced with a familiarity that both comforted and alarmed her. You need to remember. You can't forget what happened here. She stepped deeper into the church, each footfall echoing against the worn wooden floors. The light trembled, flickering uncertainly as if it were aware of her turmoil. What had happened? Why was there a part of her history she couldn't reach? She felt the weight of her past, pressing down like a heavy fog. Who are you? Her voice was barely a whisper, swallowed by the vast emptiness. What do you want from me? Suddenly, the air shifted, becoming electrified with tension. The shadows coalesced into a singular form, and Jenna's breath hitched. It was her friend, the one who had sent the message, but their once warm expression was now distorted, a mask of sorrow and urgency. Listen. The figure pleaded, voice trembling. You have to face the truth. It's the only way to end this. Jenna's heart raced and memories invaded her mind like shards of glass. The choir, the laughter, the chilling harmony that had once filled the old church. She was haunted by those melodies, but now they twisted into something grotesque and terrifying. Jenna, they're in danger. We're all in danger. She shook her head, trying to break free from the deluge of horror. What do you mean? Who's in danger? Why now? Because. A shudder passed through the form, and the shadows around it hissed as if reacting to a familiar fear. The performance, it wasn't just a performance. It opened a door we can't close. The truth hung heavily between them. She had thought the choir was just an innocent memory, a nostalgic moment in time. The swirling darkness around her started to reveal glimpses, faces, hands reaching out, desperate to escape a fate she couldn't quite see. Jenna. A bolt of blue light flashed outside, illuminating the chaos around her. You have to remember the night of the performance. It's connected to me, to all of us. You were there, you have the key. The words pierced through her fog, igniting a flicker of recognition. She felt the ground tremble beneath her like a heartbeat racing with fear. Something sinister was indeed lurking in the recesses of her mind, an unspoken truth buried so deep she had chosen to forget. I can't. Panic gripped her once more, making her hands tremble. If I remember, it could destroy everything. Yet as the figure drew closer, her friend's presence seemed to reach across the chasm of despair. It won't destroy you, Jenna. It will set us free. A cacophony of whispers wrapped around her. It was like a string being pulled taut, ready to snap. Desperation clawed at her throat, and she wished fiercely to turn back, to run away from this nightmare. But instead, she felt the pull, a magnetic force drawing her towards the truth. The thunder cracked loudly overhead, the church rattling with the fury of the storm outside. Footsteps echoed closer again, mingling with those dark whispers. An insidious dread made her heart race even faster. Who else was there, and what did they want? Through the thick haze of fear, a single notion bloomed: she couldn't walk away any longer. Okay, Jenna whispered, yielding to the swell of darkness, tell me everything. Just as she surrendered to the truth, the shadowy figures surged forward, enveloping her in a sea of whispers. The door to the past was about to open fully, but at what cost? As she stood teetering on the edge of revelation, a chilling laughter echoed, twisting the air around her tightly. Welcome back, Jenna. Now the real performance begins. The church trembled as if responding in anticipation, and she braced herself for the chaos that lay ahead. Would she be ready for the truth, or was she walking headfirst into a nightmare from which there would be no awakening? The moment the laughter faded, the shadows surged around Jenna, cloaking her in an oppressive darkness that felt alive. Her heart thundered in her chest, a primal response to the unknown. The air thickened, heavy with expectation, like the stillness before a storm. Jenna, focus. The figure pressed, their voice cutting through the fog. You need to remember who you are. You have the strength to confront it. But the tendrils of fear coiled tighter, making it hard to breathe. Memories stirred uneasily, like restless spirits battling to escape their prison. The church around her transformed, the walls pulsing as if they were a living entity, echoing with the sounds of laughter and music from the past. Stop! She shouted, her voice breaking. I don't want to remember. Not now. In response, the darkness quivered and a familiar echo of a hymn filled the space. It was both welcoming and ominous, flooding her senses. The haunting melody wrapped around her, pulling her along a path she desperately wanted to avoid. Why can't you see? Her friend exclaimed, desperation lacing their tone. It's the only way to save them. To save yourself. The phrase struck her like a slap. Hemmed in by shadows, the night she thought buried crash-landed against her mind's sights, sounds, faces that had once brought joy now twisted into horrific specters. The final performance, the accident. The way the light had broken, blinding her in a flash of chaos. It had all gone wrong, and the price had been too high. If I remember, she whispered, then what? What comes next? Your courage, Jenna. You must embrace it. The figure started to dissipate with the swelling shadows, but the connection pulsed strong. Remember the song. Remember your friends, what really happened to them. In raw defiance, Jenna squeezed her eyes shut, blocking out the past, only to feel an undercurrent of anguish wash over her. Images flashed, faces some she had thought she'd forgotten. They crowded around her, their expressions full of fear, urging her to speak their truths. The whispers grew louder, overlapping, drowning her thoughts. Jenna. They called, desperation oozing from each word. Help us. Don't let us be lost. No. She screamed, the sound reverberating through the walls. Leave me alone. Just then, a blinding flash illuminated the church. Light surged from every corner, flaring against the shadows. Jenna staggered backward, shielding her eyes. The air crackled with energy, a force eager to rip through the veil of her recollections. With newfound clarity, she felt a shift within her. Was it courage? Or was it a desperate desperation to find the truth no matter how terrifying? She gritted her teeth and opened her eyes wide. What do you want from me? The shadows recoiled, retreating, allowing space for a vision to form images of that fateful night, unraveling like a tapestry. A choir, her friends smiling brightly, and then it broke apart into chaos, screams, a flash of light, and a void left in their place. A voice resonated inside her, stilled yet powerful. You cannot run from your past, Jenna. It will always find you. You must either confront it, or it will consume you. Jenna's throat tightened, blood pounding in her ears. She took a step forward, the weight of all the anguish pushing against her like a tide. I will not let them down again. Just then, the laughter returned, louder, more mocking, echoing around her like the tolling of a funeral bell. The church began to vibrate violently, splintering wood and cracking stone filling the air. You think you can escape? It taunted. The truth is only the beginning. And in that moment of chaos, the ground beneath her trembled, and the whispers morphed into one piercing word that reverberated in her soul. Remember. Before Jenna could brace herself, the world around her imploded, swallowing her into a sea of darkness. Thoughts of her friends, their fates intertwined with her own, swirled chaotically as the whispering shadows beckoned her deeper. What awaited her on the other side? Forcing her eyes open, she wondered if she was ready to face the demons lurking in her past, or would she become just another lost soul in this theater of remembrance? The darkness loomed, and she braced for the inevitable reckoning. Would she step forward, or retreat into oblivion? Jenna was thrust into a void, a swirling maelstrom of voices and images that crashed against her like icy waves. The air around her felt viscous, sticky with memories she had tried so desperately to forget. Fear prickled at her skin, turning every nerve ending raw. And there it was again, the hymn, its notes floating ethereally, a siren's song dragging her back down into memories she couldn't escape. Jenna, remember. Echoed through the darkness, the voice morphing from familiar to unrecognizable, making her pulse race. Suddenly, a light broke through the shadow, flickering like a dying flame. She turned toward it, instinctively reaching out. Just as she did, a face emerged in the brilliance, her best friend, Lena, eyes wide with terror, lips trembling. Jenna! Lena screamed, but no sound came out. The vision was distorted, a painful reminder of that final moment. The light consumed her in the blink of an eye, and within it, Jenna felt herself suspended, as if time had stopped. Is this where it ends? Jenna asked aloud, the question crawling out of her throat like a timid child. Am I to remain lost here? She felt her voice wobble as doubt laced her words, but Lena's expression shifted from fear to a fierce determination. No. You have to dig deeper. Deeper. The word echoed in Jenna's mind. What did that mean? She had spent years burying her memories, burying her guilt. But this was her chance, this chaos was her chance for clarity. As she steadied her breath, the darkness surrounding her split open, revealing flashes of that night. She was there again, standing backstage, terrified but alive with hope. The backstage light bathed her in a warm glow as her friends strategized for the performance. Laughter danced on the edges of urgency. Jenna, you're a star out there. Just remember, Lena's voice filtered through the haze, drowning out the ticking clock, its nagging reminders of a cruel deadline. Then, there was music swelling and building with every heartbeat. It was vibrant, inviting, and in that moment, she felt whole, but then, the clarity shattered. The lights blazed brighter, the laughter cut off mid-joy, replaced by a deafening silence. The shadows morphed into a chilling sensation that gripped her throat. She saw them again, her friends in chaos. She saw them fall, one by one, and the light flickered, froze, before the world descended into a horrifying malfunction. "Stop!" Jenna cried out, but it was too late. The truth was spilling into her consciousness, and the weight of it crushed her. I can't face this again." A sudden crack echoed through the void, causing her heart to race. "Jenna!" A voice roared, and the darkness surged forward like a tidal wave, engulfing the brilliant scenes, anchoring her back in despair. "Face your fear." She felt a rush of anger mixed with desperation, clawing its way up from the depths of her soul. "I am not afraid." She shouted into the suffocating dark, surprise tinging her words. The shadows twisted, recoiling from her defiance. The air vibrated with energy, pulsating against her skin like a heartbeat, urging her on. "Confront the storm, Jenna. Your past is your power." The voice shouted, filled with urgency and conviction. With newfound resolve coursing through her, Jenna took a tentative step forward, pushing through the oppressive shadows. Each step she took felt like a battle, even the ground beneath her seemed to tremble in protest. "I want to be a prisoner of my past." Tears streamed down her cheeks, a catharsis unwelcomed yet liberating. As she pressed through, memories began to surface, vivid and tangled. Faces emerged, like woven threads coming undone. Lena's laughter, Patrick's infectious grin, the way they believed in her. They were tangible, real. "Fight, Jenna." They encouraged, though their voices battled against the rising tide of despair. Just then, the void erupted again, the shadows morphing into twisted figures that screamed in agony, eyes filled with sorrow. Her friends from that fateful night, their trapped souls desperately seeking release. "This is your chance." They cried as one. "You must set us free." Jenna's breath hitched. They were counting on her, but as she stepped closer, the ground quaked violently. The air shimmered, and the shadows deepened, threatening to consume her. Would she summon the courage to unearth the truth that could salvage their souls, or would she retreat back into the dark cycle of torment? And then she heard the whisper again, now soft yet piercing through the confusion, "Remember before it's too late." With a surge of desperation, she understood. The answer lay within, hidden amongst the depths of her heart. Would she reach within and expose the haunting truth? Jenna's heart pounded as the whispers danced around her like thunderclaps. Each shadowy figure twisted in agony, faces contorted with fear and desperation. They reached out toward her, their cries piercing through the void. "Help us, Jenna." "No." The weight of their sorrow crashed into her, spilling raw terror into her veins. The urgency grew unbearable, gnawing at her resolve. Memories swirled outside her control, desperate to claw their way back into view, but the rage and pain combined into an overwhelming tide. "I can't," she gasped, stumbling back. But then she heard it again, "Remember." The word echoed with a clarity that sliced through her doubt. Details rewound violently in her mind. A heartbeat later, she felt the rush of a melody, harmonizing with the gnawing pulse of her fear. It was the opening song, the one they had rehearsed so many times. Her heart raced as she locked onto the lyrics. Those lines were woven with light. "Find the truth, Jenna." Lena's voice boomed through the dark. "Please, you have to unearth it." Gritting her teeth, Jenna drew in a deep breath, pushing against the despair wrapping her throat. She could see the stage in her mind's eye, golden lights flooding the air, the laughter echoing, the moment just before everything fell apart. She turned again toward the swirling figures before her, searching for something, anything that would spark the memories she had caged. "Lena! What are you trying to tell me?" she cried, but only silence met her. The air crackled in tension, vibrating as if waiting for her to unleash the floodgates of truth. In an instant, scenes flared brighter, and she felt power coursing through her veins. She could remember the tension backstage, the excitement mixed with flickers of fear, just before the performance. It melted into chaos as she grasped the faces of her friends. An explosion of sound, laughter, then darkness. It all collided at once as realization pierced her heart. "Lena!" Jenna shouted, drowning in the rush. "What did we do?" The shadows shifted, merging, swirling into a vortex of memories. Flickers of light pulsated as fragments surged forward: an argument, a blind spot, an error. Her chest tightened as pieces clicked into place. They had wanted to change the choreography, but Jenna had been too proud, too stubborn. If she had listened, maybe everything would have been different. The truth clanged against her like a bell, sharp, clear, undeniable. "No!" she gasped, clutching her head. The grief surged, a dagger of guilt spinning deeper. "Lena, I failed you. I failed all of you." The trembling darkness echoed her pain, but through the murk, a light flickered. "Jenna! You must forgive yourself." The voice was strong, filled with the strength she never thought she could have. Forgiveness, it sounded foreign, but deep inside, she felt the faintest spark of hope. "I can't just ignore what happened," she whispered to herself, tears streaming down her cheeks. "You don't have to stay trapped in the past." The voice urged. "This isn't just about them, it's about you stepping out of the shadows." Summoning every ounce of courage, Jenna took a deep breath and stepped forward. "I choose to face this." The moment her words echoed into the void, the darkness recoiled, and for the first time, she stood up straighter, directly confronting her past grievances, but just then, the ground erupted again, shaking beneath her as if the very earth was protesting her decision. She stumbled, and the shadows surged one more time, threatening to suck her in. "Jenna!" The voices wailed in unison, desperation hanging heavy. "Don't let it take you back. Remember, you must dig even deeper. Even deeper." Panic coursed through her as she grasped the edges of her resolve. Now, beneath the terror, there was a pulsating rhythm of hope that quickened her breath. The shadows twisted around her, demanding her attention. Jenna clenched her fists, determination molding into strength. If she wanted to find peace for herself and her friends, she had to embrace the whole truth. Suddenly, a single memory surged to the front: her last whispered promise to Lena before everything fell apart. "We'll always be together," she had said. No matter what happens in that moment, the shadows began to recede, flickering in and out like candles caught in a breeze. Jenna closed her eyes and squeezed them shut against the fear clawing to draw her back. "I will find my way," she yelled out loud, invoking not just courage, but a commitment to the fight ahead. The shadows danced around her, mixing with the whispering melody, both terrifying and enchanting, beckoning her deeper into her soul. "Where are you?" A voice cried out from behind the shadows, its ethereal warmth brushing against her heart. The lingering uncertainty gnawed at her as she realized this confrontation was only the beginning. What awaited her as she turned towards that haunting voice? "Jenna!" It called again, urgent and familiar. Tension threaded through the air, thickening with trails of impending revelations. Could she handle what lay ahead, or would the void reclaim her? Jenna's heart raced as she turned towards the voice, her palms slick with sweat. The shadows quaked as if anxious, almost alive with anticipation. Each pulse echoed with her own heartbeat, filling the void with an electric tension. "Jenna!" The voice broke through, a chilling echo that ignited her memories. It felt like a lifeline reaching out from the depths. "I need you to focus, please." The urgency in the voice felt so familiar, so desperately hopeful. It was Lena, but was it truly her? Gripping her chest, Jenna took another hesitant step forward, the mist curling around her ankles like icy fingers. "Lena? Is that really you?" Her voice trembled, barely a whisper against the all-encompassing darkness. "Yes. Remember everything, Jenna. You must." The shadows writhed, and in that chaos, Jenna could almost see Lena's silhouette flicker across the gloom. With a deep inhale, Jenna forced herself to remember, truly remember. The rehearsal turned chaotic, the dance number rewritten at the last minute. The argument that had cracked a rift between them became sharper in her mind's eye. How easily had she dismissed Lena's concerns. Why didn't I listen? She gasped, choking on the realization. The shadows shifted, morphing into a swirling tempest as if the echoes of her past rippled through the darkness. Because you were afraid, Lena's voice replied, piercing through the fog of uncertainty. You were afraid of change, of losing control. But Jenna, there's something you haven't seen yet. What do you mean? Jenna pressed, the fear clawing at her throat, almost suffocating her. You're not the only one who was hurt that night. You need to understand there are deeper truths waiting for you. With every word, Lena's image became clearer, her essence mixing with the light that began to seep through the shadows. Jenna felt a surge of raw energy coursing through her body, mingling with the fear. If I drag everything back up, what if I can't handle it? You can handle it. You're stronger than you realize. Let it all come out, your pain, your anger, your guilt. Face it all. Don't let the past keep you hidden away. Jenna's gaze flickered to the shadowy vortex, where swirls of darkness beckoned her. They echoed anger and sorrow, a storm of emotions threatening to pull her back. But what if I break? Only by breaking can you truly rebuild. You're not alone. Look. Lena's voice resonated like a lighthouse cutting through the fog. Jenna turned, her heart thumping, the air shifting as the shadows expanded, revealing figures she recognized amidst the chaos. Lena! She cried out, and the shadows fell away, unveiling familiar faces. Her friends, those she thought lost to the night. They stood there, faces pale yet full of determination. Jenna, they chanted softly. We've been waiting for you. A gasp tore from her, the weight of memories crashing down. Each figure, their hopes intermingled with their sorrow, wrapped around her like a warm embrace, fueling her with strength. Then I won't let this happen again, she declared, her voice fierce. I will unearth the truth. The shadows erupted, a cacophony of conflicting feelings swirling above them, a dark storm of lost words and broken promises. But Jenna stood firm, her heart steadying as light glimmered along the edges of her vision. In that moment of choice, Jenna's will surged through her veins. The shadowy figures wavered, their desperate cries mixing into a chant, face what lies beneath. Then a sudden silence fell, thick and suffocating. The ground trembled beneath her feet, and Jenna felt the surreal sensation of slipping away into darkness. She fought against it with fervor, desperate to pierce through to the truth. Jenna! The call resonated again, but this time it shifted, tracing the edges of a memory long buried. A forgotten promise. Jenna gasped as sharp edges of a vivid memory unfolded before her, one filled with laughter and joy, but tinged with the inescapable shadow of regret. Jenna, remember our last performance? The memory threatened to shatter her resolve. No. She cried as the vortex swirled violently, pulling her toward an inevitable fate. But what haunting truth awaited her? What would the shadows reveal? Would it be the peace she desperately sought, or a deeper plunge into darkness? As the tendrils of shadow reached for her, Jenna took a deep breath, bracing for what lay ahead. What if uncovering the truth meant losing everything she thought she knew? The darkness enveloped Jenna, a blanket of shadows smothering her senses. A frantic rush of thoughts swirled through her mind, eclipsing her will. The familiar faces of her friends, the warmth of their presence faded, tugging on her with an aching pull. I can't go back there, she stammered, her voice cracking under the weight of the memory. Embrace it, Jenna. Lena's voice shot through the void, resonating like a lifeline. You must confront what happened. The truth is waiting for you. Waiting for me? She echoed, struggling against the tide of fear. The memories surged forward, sharper and bolder, images unfurling like a dark lotus beneath murky waters. Sweat trickled down her back as she clutched her head, trying to block out the chaos. Then the world shifted. She was no longer surrounded by shadowy distortion. Instead, she stood on familiar ground. Stage lights glared down on her, illuminating a scene that felt both like home and a nightmare. She was back in the theater, backstage, frantically pulling on her costume before the fateful performance. "Jenna! Where have you been?" A voice snapped her back to reality. Tina, her fellow dancer, anxiously adjusting her makeup for one last time. "It's about to start." Jenna spun around, her heart pounding. "We can't do this. We shouldn't perform." Tina's brows knotted in confusion. "Don't say that. We've worked too hard." Determination etched on her face, but Jenna could only see the flickering shadows behind her eyes. But the whispers, the warnings. Tina shook her head, dismissing Jenna's fears. "You're letting them get to you. You can't let fear control you." The words echoed, much like Lena's voice resonating within the depths of her mind. But something twisted in Jenna's gut. The urgency weighed heavily on her. "Something's not right." She cried out, her voice trembling as the ground beneath her began to tremble again, a subtle warning. Her hands shook as she reached for the curtain, pulling it back just a fraction to peer into the filled seats. The audience was a blurry mass, but she could feel their anticipation, a living, breathing organism, hungry for her. "Jenna!" Lena's voice sliced through the cacophony in her head. "Look closer. You need to see what they're hiding." With dread pooling in her stomach, Jenna stepped forward into the lights, each step dragging her deeper into the maelstrom of uncertainty. The applause thundered, but it felt hollow. A specter of joy, a smile on a mask of anguish. "Jenna, just perform," Tina urged, but Jenna's mind was racing, the shadows from moments long past fighting to claw their way back. What had she repressed? What was buried beneath her success? As Jenna took her position center stage, analysis and fear gnawed at her as she stared into the crowd. "There's something wrong," she screamed, voice breaking through the dazzling lights. The audience shifted, a ripple of unease snaking through the sea of faces. "What's wrong?" Tina's voice was insistent, but Jenna didn't hear her. She was lost in the eyes of those who had come to watch, the judgment radiating from them mixed with the mournful faces of her friends from the dark. That a figure in the back caught her attention, a dark silhouette that stood out amid the audience. It was cloaked, watching her as if predicting her next move. Jenna felt her chest tighten, the tether of terror knotting in her throat. "Who are you?" she demanded, though she could hardly keep her voice steady. The figure stepped into the light, shadows dancing away to reveal familiar features twisted in a knowing smile. "You've come so far, Jenna. Are you ready for the truth?" The world spun as Jenna's breath came quick, thoughts colliding in a mental haze of dread as she braced herself for an answer. "Jenna!" Lena's voice echoed urgently as the tension cracked like thunder. "Remember why you're here." But the truth lay just out of reach. What was about to be revealed? And at what cost would it come? With her heart pounding, Jenna realized she had no choice but to confront the figure who held the key to her past. Would it set her free, or shackle her to a fate even darker than before? Jenna's heart raced, threatening to burst from her chest. The figure's smile was unsettling, an uncanny mix of familiarity and menace. Sweat dotted her brow as she struggled to collect her scattered thoughts. "What do you want from me?" she challenged, the tremor in her voice betraying her bravado. The audience was silent, the air thick with anticipation, each breath held tight in unison. Shadows danced across the walls, flickering under the glare of stage lights, whispering secrets Jenna couldn't quite grasp. It was suffocating. "I want you to see," the figure replied, voice dripping with a strange sort of empathy. "You've hidden from it for so long. But now, in front of everyone, you can't escape." "Can't escape what?" Jenna spat, feeling raw and unsteady. But the answer hung in the air, taunting her as memories threatened to spill from the recesses of her mind. She could feel their weight pressing down like the very shadows looming over her. With a sudden movement, the figure gestured toward the audience. "Look. They're waiting for you to admit it. Everyone here knows but you." Jenna turned her gaze toward the crowd. The faces of her friends twisted and shimmered, barely recognizable. A few wore looks of pity, others disappointment, and a chilling number wore expressions she couldn't quite decipher. It was as if they saw right through her, cutting deep into her soul. And then she saw them, the fleeting glances, the whispers trailing behind each gaze. They weren't just passive spectators. Each face held a shard of her history, a hint of the chaos she thought she could bury. "No," Jenna breathed, clenching her fists. "I can't. Not here." "Then where?" The figure pressed, stepping closer, the light revealing a face she had once cherished but now found horrifying. "You think you can dance away from your past? You're a deceiver, Jenna. You've deceived everyone." "No." Jenna screamed, but the denial tasted bitter. The truth clawed at her throat as images flared in her mind, arguments, screams, turbulent nights that blurred between pain and regret. "Remember the night of the accident?" The figure leaned in, lowering their voice into a dangerous whisper that made Jenna's skin crawl. The word accident reverberated within her, splitting the memory open like an old wound. "Stop it." But the crowd leaned closer, eager for her response, their breath mingling with her own fear. "Do you think you can forget the blood on your hands?" The figure's eyes flashed with intensity, a mirror reflecting Jenna's shame. "You took everything from them. Maybe now, it's time to pay the price." The floor beneath her shifted uneasily, the stage warping in a horrifying way. There was no escape. No more roles to play. Reality crashed down around her, the truth echoing within like thunder. She stumbled back, feeling reality slip away, finding only a deep, consuming darkness. "I hate you!" she shouted, ripping her gaze from the figure and the audience, each accusing face now a specter of her own making. "Then you will never be free," the figure declared, the sinister smile widening as Jenna's breath came quicker, desperation clawing at her chest. Before she could find her footing again, the theater began to fade, the faces melting like wax in flames. Jenna was left suspended, tangled in her thoughts, drowning in a sea of her own making. Then she heard a faint sound, like a heartbeat, pulling her back to consciousness. Was it time to confront the truth? Or would she drown in the shadows of her past? All she knew was she couldn't cling to the edges of this darkness for long. What lay beyond this moment? Was escape truly possible, or was it merely an illusion like everything else? Jenna stood suspended in the void, the echoes of her past colliding with her present in a storm of chaos. The audience's faces morphed into specters of regret, but something shifted within her. The memories began to lose their grip, alternating between torment and clarity. She felt the ferocity of her heart beating against her ribs, urging her to hold on to her resolve. "Jenna, please." Lena's voice cut through the darkness again, shining like a beacon. The warmth in Lena's tone ignited a spark within Jenna's chest. "You have to break free. Remember who you truly are." With each word, Jenna could see fragmented images of joy and sorrow flitting in and out, a dance of light battling the shadows. They were fleeting but significant. The bond shared with her friends wasn't meant to be severed. Jenna took a shaky breath, confronting the truth the night's haunting memories had shackled her for far too long. "I won't let the darkness control me," she declared firmly, finding a newfound strength surging through her. The shadows recoiled at her words, retreating as if threatened by the blaze of her determination. "You're correct." The figure snarled, frustration laced in their tone as they realized they were losing their grip. "But do the others echo your sentiment? You lost them." A flicker of doubt tried to creep in, but then Jenna felt it, a rustling of memories cocooned within the haze. They were urging her on, her friends' spirits surrounding her with warmth and perspective. "They believed in me," she whispered fiercely. "But I let fear drown their friendship." "Then what will you do, Jenna?" The figure loomed closer, their presence almost menacing against the encroaching light. "Will you embrace the truth, or cower into your own shadow?" "Neither," she shouted, the proper answer pouring forth like ballads from her heart. "I will face what I've done, but I will rise from it too." The audience, the chimerical forms of her memories, seemed stunned as she stepped forward boldly, the shadows swirling in a chaotic tempest around her. Suddenly, the dim light brightened, a soft illumination shined through, surrounding Jenna in golden hues. In an instant, she was transported back to the old church. Familiar scents of wood and sanded pews washed over her, the vibrant atmosphere filled with echoes of laughter. She gasped, the sights and sounds flooding her senses. Her friends stood atop the stage, smiles painted brightly as they practiced their lines and harmonies once again. "Lena!" Jenna called, stepping forward into the light. "Can you forgive me?" A moment of silence fell before Lena's familiar laughter twinkled in the air, a pure, heartfelt sound that settled gently on Jenna's heart. "There's nothing to forgive. We're all together again." The shadows transformed, peeling away like layers of anxiety, replaced with soothing warmth. Jenna felt a rush of love and support, the essence of her friends wrapping around her like a soft embrace. "You've faced your demons, Jenna," Lena said, stepping gracefully forward. "Now you can finally be free." As the church walls gleamed with renewed life, the haunting melody of their former performances resonated through the air. During that moment, all else faded into insignificance. Jenna's heart swelled, pulling away the oppressive weight that had bound her for years. She turned to the audience, newfound determination lighting her gaze, and extended her hands outward, inviting them into her world. The shadowy figures shrank to mere whispers as the vibrant energy of the moment swelled through her veins. "Come back. We can create something beautiful together again." And they did. The music ignited a chorus of voices united in song, the haunting and harmonic dreams intertwined at last. Waves of emotion washed over Jenna, laughter, tears, healing. Tonight marked not just an ending but a beginning, a radiant illumination in the archways of their memories. The painful past had bared its teeth, but Jenna emerged alive, stronger, and forever bound to her friends. "I won't forget what you all taught me," Jenna whispered as the echo of their melody spiraled high into the heavens. "I promise to honor our love by never letting fear choke our light again." With a final flourish, the performance unfurled, a celebration of memories restored, friendships rekindled, and truths solidified. She felt their spirits lift with the rising crescendo, and for the first time, the shadows that had once haunted her felt like a distant memory rather than an overpowering presence. As the final note rang through the air, the vibrant glow illuminated the entire church, wrapping them in a comforting embrace. Everyone's faces glowed with warmth and acceptance, no tears of sorrow, only ones of relief and joy. Everyone turned to Jenna with smiles carved deep. The newly found freedom washed over her like a wave, she felt invigorated and at peace. As the moment settled, Jenna embraced her friends, holding on to solace and gratitude. She had faced her truths head-on, wielding them like talismans, and stood united, ready to forge new paths ahead. With one last glance around the familiar space, Jenna felt hope intertwining with her memories. This was not the end, it was only the beginning. Now, you need to remember this moment. This is the moment to subscribe immediately so you don't miss out on the next incredible story coming your way. Smash that like button now, it feeds the algorithm like nothing else. Don't just vanish without a trace, flood that comments section with your thoughts and theories about Jenna's journey. Let us hear how her story hit you. And don't forget to instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to experience this breathtaking conclusion. Don't wait even one more second to share the light that is Jenna's story.